The NRA top dog executives turning on each other. That's what's up next on the next episode of Guns and Gadgets. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Today is an interesting story. It's unfortunately more turmoil within the NRA. This time we have one of the top executives who's no longer with the company now, turning on Wayne and the crew. Now there are other disturbing things in here, like now this person that I'll tell you about in a second is calling for gun control after being in the NRA and supposedly fighting for our side. But let's get into this. First of all, Joshua Powell is the gentleman we're going to be talking about today. And if you remember that name for some reason, that's because he is one of the handful of people that are named in the New York Attorney General's lawsuit against the NRA. If you read that, there's a whole bunch of things about people that they didn't do correct in the AG's point of view. And Joshua Powell's one of those. Now, Joshua Powell was fired in January from the NRA. And the stuff that I'm about to talk to you about today comes from an article on the New York Times in which they're talking about Joshua Powell's new book that's coming out. So is it a little bit of sour grapes, and now I'm going to try to make the person on this side look bad to help me look good? A little bit of psychology, try to make the other one look bad while we were both doing stuff that wasn't great. But they also go into some of the things about President Trump, and remember when he was behind some certain types of gun control. It's interesting, so follow along if you will. Now, Joshua Powell was Wayne LaPierre's chief of staff, number 2 in the organization, and he got jammed up himself for unauthorized charges for trips and airfare for his family. I believe it was $58,000 he was jammed up on in this, in the lawsuit. It's mentioned as well, and he's agreed to pay back some of that money. But know that these opinions and these statements are coming from somebody who's not innocent in this. Okay, so I'm not by any means saying that Powell is innocent. But usually when people are backed into a corner, that's when you find out some truth, unfortunately. In reading this article, I'm probably going to buy the book. Maybe I'll get it after I finish editing this video. But most of this book centers on Wayne LaPierre, who Powell says, and this is a quote, couldn't run an organization on a fiscally sound basis to save his life. It also says that LaPierre filled the NRA's coffers by catering to the, quote, extreme fringe. He also says that the NRA's troubles are so dire right now that last year LaPierre confided in Powell that he was considering quitting and asking former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee or former House Representative member Jason Chaffetz to take his place. But we know Wayne didn't quit, obviously, and Wayne would like to quit because he set himself up with a very, very beneficial deal upon his leaving the top executive position. One was never voted on by the board, by the way. Now, 2 of the interesting things I have seen reported from the book were in 2018 in the aftermath of the Parkland, Florida shooting. And for those of you paying attention, this was the meeting where Trump came out and said he was in favor of stronger universal background checks. And his now infamous quote for anybody who is a constitutionalist:
take the firearms first and then go to court. We have to do something very decisive. Number one, you can take the guns away immediately from people that you can adjudge easily are mentally ill, like this guy. The police saw that he was the problem. They didn't take any guns away. Now, that could have been policing. I think they should have taken them away anyway, whether they had the right or not. A lot of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. But take the guns first, go through due process second.
Powell says in his book that right after that time, President Trump met with Wayne LaPierre and Chris Cox when he was still with the NRA, and that he quickly folded on that. And the quotes are, quote, he was reminded who helped elect him, and after the meeting, the president did a 180, completely changing his tune. Another time that he mentions in the book is after the El Paso, Texas shooting, In 2019, Powell says he prepared LaPierre for a phone call with President Trump in which he was told that the membership of the NRA would go wild if he moved forward with background check legislation. LaPierre told the president, quote, "That happened in the Bush years and our people just did not come out in the same way," referring to voting. Now, this article does a good job in telling you all different things, not just taking Josh Powell's side. They actually tell in the article about the jam that he's in as far as the charges he has to pay back and that it's still under investigation for that, as well as saying that right after he was fired, Powell was seeking to restructure his contract and receive $1.7 million as a consultant. And now he's got some criticism for doing this book, which turned out to be a tell-all book focused on Wayne LaPierre. Now, what also should be pointed out with anybody, not just in this NRA scenario, is that when somebody is with an organization for a long time and they are in lockstep of what's going on, they're no longer in the organization and now they want to blow the whistle, that's when you need to take things into consideration, right? Like I said earlier, is it sour grapes because now I'm not making that kind of money and I'm not benefiting from that position and I'm upset and now I'm going to air the dirty laundry? But if that person was still in the organization, would they still be doing the things that they're calling wrong? You know what I mean? But then are his comments from the book on gun control. Again, I have yet to read this book. I'm taking quotes and excerpts from this article that I will link down below if you want to read it. But it does say, and I'm looking right at it while I'm saying it, Mr. Powell's comments on gun control, speaking as a former senior official at a group dedicated to opposing such change, that are the most striking. He is unconvinced that universal background checks would be effective, but he says, quote, "The NRA is not in step with the majority of gun owners," end quote, on this issue and should take it off the table. So does that mean, did we just tell you that the NRA is for universal background checks, which we understand if you've been on this channel for a while. The next part is that the NRA is still for red flag. Powell also expresses support for red flag. He says, quote, "As long as there is a process that involves both medical doctors and psychiatrists and some sort of bipartisan oversight," end quote.
We need to stop dangerous people before they act. So Congress should provide funding for states to adopt risk protection orders. This can help prevent violent behavior before it turns into a tragedy.
They're for the red flag. It is the most unconstitutional, illegal backdoor gun control ever. And the NRA is still for it. Before you even get down there and saying, no, it's not happening, do a search on my channel or just go to the NRA Problems playlist and watch those videos because it's true. They were for it and they still are, according to Josh Powell. So I'm gonna, after reading this and doing this video now, I'm gonna have to buy this book. I have to read this. If for nothing else, is to see what somebody on the inside saw and dealt with. Again, is it true 100% or is it true 70%? I don't know. However, the NRA is still looking at universal background checks and still for red flag legislation. It's very disconcerting to say the least. Now, Joshua Powell's book is called Inside the NRA. That's it right there, and I'm literally going to buy it after I'm done uploading this video. What do you think about this? This is, obviously we know the issues of the NRA because it's been well discussed and brought out ever since actually we were all at the Indianapolis NRA annual meetings, it's a year and a half ago now when all this started coming out with Oliver North and Wayne LaPierre and all that stuff. So, again, the NRA still, as an organization, still does good things. They're trainers. The NRA trainers, I know many NRA certified firearms instructors. They're great people. They do great stuff, and they serve a great purpose in educating, especially these new gun owners. There's 5 million of them. Someone's got to help train them, right? They also do good things with ranges. I know ranges personally who have benefited from the NRA and getting things repaired or what have you, but the top echelon of the organization has been doing the wrong thing and it needs to be corrected. And as long as they keep circling the wagons around this group of people who aren't doing things the right way, the more and more they will be tarnished and the more that they will become marked. So I hope they fix things. I hope they get their head out of their sphincter and do the right thing. But, the more I say that, the more I see it's not happening. Let me know down below, guys and gals, what you think about the scenario. Is it sour grapes? Is it good that we're getting the information? Either way, shame on the NRA. Until we see each other again, I am Jared, the humble host of Guns and Gadgets. If it's a Second Amendment news you're after, this is where you'll find it, so please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Let's continue to grow this freedom family so we all know what they're trying to do to our Second Amendment, and we're all rowing in the same direction. Thanks again, everybody. Be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a weapon. Take care.